Hello, my beautiful friends. It's Amanda here, and today we're talking about a brand new release coming soon from Nomad Cosmetics. This is their Ghost Town USA palette. It is just in time for spooky season to begin. Here's a look inside. We have a lot of grungy, cool toned, very ghostly type of colors. I'm going to try to post this video ASAP so that you can see this before the palette launches. So I'm just giving you a quick little bonus video this weekend. I know everybody's probably excited to see this palette. I'm excited to use it. I'm excited to show it to you. We're going to do close-ups, swatches, and also a really quick, easy tutorial using this Ghost Town USA palette. I'm going to give you all of the details and all of my thoughts along the way. This palette is launching on August 29th. That is Tuesday, but it's launching just after midnight. So it will have only been Tuesday for like 1 minute on the East Coast. This is Eastern Standard Time. So if you live in the Pacific time zone, then that will be 9 p.m. on Monday night. That's 6 a.m. on Tuesday morning in Central European time. If you're not sure where your time zone is or what time that will be, you can always just do a quick little Google search. I don't want to list out all of the time zones, but just to give you an idea of the timing, since it's that midnight time, it can be a little bit confusing as far as launch dates go. I'm going to list all of this information in the description box for you as well. I do want to mention that this palette is both cruelty-free and vegan, so safe for all of my vegan friends out there. And this palette will be retail priced at $49 US. However, I have an affiliate code. The code is just my first name, Amanda. That will save you a nice little chunk. You'll get about $5 off of this palette, and that will apply to most things on the Nomad site as well if you're planning on picking up anything else when you order. The front of this palette has a super cool changing image. So when you move the palette around or look at it from different angles, it goes from a regular sort of Western type of scene in the daytime to a very spooky, haunted ghost town scene at night. This is similar to what they had for their Haunted Europe palette, and I just think this is such a cool detail. Their packaging is always interesting, and it's always really different based on their launch, so I love that. We have a nice big mirror inside here, and then there are 18 eyeshadow shades inside. We have a perfectly even split between mattes and shimmers, which personally I love to see. That is my personal preferred ratio, and I just love how visually pleasing this is. There are some awesome imprints on every single shadow, so I'm going to insert a photo of what this looked like before I started using it and swatching it. I did, of course, get a couple of images before I stuck my little fingers and my little eyeshadow brushes in there. Not only is the packaging really pleasing to me and all of these little printed powders, but I like how logically and intentionally all of these shadows are laid out. So we have a column of shimmers, then a column of mattes, a column of shimmers, a column of mattes, and that separates the color stories out really easily into little duos if you just wanted a matte and shimmer pair. Or you could look at these like two different 9-pan palettes. This side is a little bit more warm, neutral leaning. Of course, there are some pops of cool tones in there as well. And then the more colors, blues and greens, are on the other side, and that is a little bit more cool toned. We do have a mix of both warm and cool tones throughout this palette, however. There are some gray, silvery, and some of the mattes in the green and blue shades are also more cool toned. And then we have some of the neutrals, browns. We've got these coppery tones coming through. And then the shimmers of the purples and greens tend to be a little bit more warm toned. The overall effect gives a very true neutral type of vibe to me. But on the individual shadows, we have a mix of warm and cool tones. And these shimmers are a very foily, almost creamy type of feel. They really give that true foiled shimmer type of texture. And then the mattes, you can tell, are really soft and layerable. They blend beautifully. They're not so pigmented that they're hard to work with, but they have that right amount of pigmentation that stays true to color on the eye. I'm going to show you a super quick and easy, very, very neutral eye look with this palette today. I ended up wearing this eyeshadow all day long. We went out to the street festival type thing and we were out for hours. It is super, super hot and humid where I live. So I didn't take any photos or videos. I wasn't really doing it as a real wear test for the video. I just was wearing this in my real life. So I don't have any photos or video or anything of me during my hanging out with my family time while I wore this. But I will say it held up impressively well. Obviously, it was not perfect by the end of the night. I was out in dripping sweat type of heat and humidity. Even when the sun went down, the humidity was so high that it just was stiflingly hot. And of course, some of the shimmer really wore off of my lids as I was dripping sweat. And I was putting sunglasses on and off. We were out running around doing a little scavenger hunt type of thing. So this makeup really got put through the ringer. And obviously, some of it wore off, especially towards the crease area. The shimmer sort of rubbed off and moved around, but I didn't have shimmer falling down all over my face, and I definitely still had eyeshadow left on my lids, which truly felt like a miracle that I had any makeup still left on my face. So I'm not going to pretend like this was a miracle and it never budged. I don't think any eyeshadow could do that under the circumstances, but I will say I was very impressed with how all of my makeup held up through a very rigorous day of wear. What this all boils down to for me is I really, really love this palette. I think the color story is interesting but approachable. It's pretty unique. It's definitely got unique, beautiful packaging. I love the storytelling that Nomad always gives us. I love how cohesive and thoughtful the shade layout is. I think the shadows texture wise are stunning. At least the ones I've worn are great performance wise as well. All in all, I am a big fan of this palette. I think every time a Nomad palette comes out that, oh, I've got a new top favorites list that I have to rework. So another hit from Nomad. I really love this. I am going to be using this year round. And now I'm going to give you just a couple of comparisons. I first thought of their Haunted Europe palette. This was another spooky season type of theme with the shifting image on the front. And I think that's what initially drew me to want to compare these two. Now you can see there are some similarities shade-wise here, but definitely some very obvious differences as well. The most glaring difference to me is that the Haunted Europe palette has a lot of very decidedly orangey, yellowy, very in your face, obviously warm toned shades, whereas the Ghost Town USA warmer shades are more subtle and more in line with that cool to true neutral type of vibe. Similarly, Haunted Europe has more definitively bright shades mixed in with muted colors, whereas Ghost Town USA is overarchingly very muted in color scheme.
Really only a small handful, two or three shades that I think would qualify as dupeable shades, but nonetheless, there is a little bit of color overlap here. Now, I have a few other palettes that I wanted to pull out for comparisons. Not a ton of extremely dead on dupes, but just more that I thought it would be worth looking at. The first is from Oden's Eye. This is the Jewels and Gem palette. And I think these are the perfect case of sisters, not twins. I can see these working really nicely together. And there are definitely a lot of shades here that are close, but just not dupes. Similar, definitely a similar vibe. I think the Jewels and Gem palette has a little bit more of that pinky type of tone to some of the shadows and a lot more decided duo multi-chrome shades coming from the Oden's Eye palette. Next, I wanted to pull out one of my favorite fall jewel tone grungy type of palettes, and that's the It's a Mood palette. This is another one that is definitely warmer, not quite as dusty, muted, but again, some overlap here, and I can see these being nice companion palettes as well. What we're really missing in It's a Mood are those cooler toned, dusty matte greens, as well as those silvery blue gray type of colors that really set Ghost Town USA apart from pretty much everything that I compare it to in this video. Maybe if you had every single one of the comparison palettes, then you might be able to cobble together a decent dupe of Ghost Town USA, but none of the palettes that I compared it with really felt like a decent enough dupe for me. Last comparison is an Instagram follower request. This is from a couple years ago, the Gather Round Sisters palette from ColourPop in collaboration with the Hocus Pocus movie. Gather Round Sisters is way more warm toned, and overall, it seems like it doesn't have as many of the light and mid tones that Ghost Town USA has, and we are missing those dusty, cool tone colors, definitely missing the blues and grays. But again, I think these would make good companion palettes if you wanted to warm up the Ghost Town USA color scheme.
I know I did a really super simple kind of neutral look today, which this palette is going to be great for, but I think there are also going to be some really fun, interesting, murky color-based looks that can come from this palette as well. Let me know if you want to see some more eye looks using this palette. I would love to show that to you. I definitely want to hear what you think about this palette. Are you interested? Are you going to be picking it up? I always love to hear what you think about things too, so make sure you leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Woo, 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 woo. I'm an adult. I discovered my love of silver last year. Never looked back. There's a snake in my boat. Where did a Toy Story reference come from? Okay, I'm fine. Thanks for watching. I love all of your faces so much, and I'll see you real soon in the next one, okay? It'll be soon. See you soon. Bye-bye. Bye.